while speaking about the previous Renaissance, I did say that it focused its attention upon social issues. I want to go back and say and add that look at that Renaissance, and what you will observe is that there were hundreds, if not thousands, of individuals who, as individuals, on the scale that I am talking about, gave a very large part of themselves and the best of themselves to that movement. So even in that movement you will see that the role of individual was arguably greater than the role of the individual in the later communist movements. As I glance over the two periods of history, in my opinion, in the aggregate, more individuals were involved. So what that tells us is that, look, if in any movement which is has a wider and broader compass, there will have to be many more individuals, not at the level of cadres, but at the level of individuals who take the responsibility for a leadership contribution, a contribution on the scale of the leading role, and in many areas, in many diverse areas, not just one specific political project. I mean, take for example the Vietnam War. I mention it because of its heroic dimensions, indisputably. Yet I think that the number of individuals whose highly developed individualities were fully involved probably were fewer. And the heroism was really that of the hundreds of thousands of cadres and the foot soldiers which made the Vietnam War. There were some, but nothing on the scale of the individualities involved in the Renaissance. That is another reason why in any case you would need individuals. Of course, fundamentally, I come back to my earlier position that the logic of this movement now is that the driving engine of it would not be a mass sentiment or emotion, like, for example, the one you witnessed in the Algerian Revolution, or it would be the main substance of would be the fact that you are fighting the battles for the future against your past, with the active capabilities of contemporary individuals, the potentials, which emotional, intellectual potentials, and potentials which have transformed their individualities from being those which were only a part of the past, and now having detached themselves from that connection, they have connected themselves to the future and the demands of the future and on the plane of the future. A far more intelligent civilization with mechanics and tasks which demand a much higher degree of intelligence than was required in the past. Let me put it like this. It's a space age travel in social change. So if you recall that in space technology, the term used has been the technology of perfection, where a few parts, which can count probably on your fingers, out of millions of parts that go into its making, can have some errors. So it's approaching technology of perfection. So it's that order of intelligence and transformation. Clearly it constitutes a transformed model of engineering compared to that. And if you want to make that comparison, you can make it rather graphically if you consider the case of the Rolls-Royce engines. That alone is not good enough. The excellence of Rolls-Royce is not good enough. You need a higher level of technology for space travel. I am suggesting that the magnitude and the tasks of the third Renaissance and any movement leading up to it, and any meaningful political movement, which can only be one which is connected to a vision of that Renaissance, has to be necessarily based upon a different kind of a man who's still so stuck in his past emotional processes, which keep driving him from pillar to post, is not going to be a component of social change which is on offer. That is the only change that is on offer. Substitutes may be an offer, but it has been proved that they don't work. They will only make matters worse. So that's the nature of the time.
So, at the risk of sounding simplistic, very simplistic, would you concur then that the position that you're submitting is that since the individual or individuals are the components which make up society, a flawed individual can never produce a perfect society. So it is the only option is to reorder the individual before society can be reordered.
Let me put it like this. An aggregate of flawed individuals cannot produce the society that you need to resolve your existing problems.
So all the work that has to be done at the individual level.
It's only very much less flawed individuals, so much less that they virtually constitute another quality of individuals. It is only with them as bricks you can build the structures of a new society.
And you're saying that the tools to do that are within our reach?
I think so. Via Mentology.
Right.
It's not, I'm not referring to a brand name. I'm not trying to sell any label. Another man, but truly another man, in reality another man, not in imagination, not in make-believe, not based upon any dogmas, not based upon rhetoric, and not based upon just reactions. You see, very quickly now, first of all, I leave aside science and technology as a manifestation of the mental capability of the human being in civilization to analyze and understand things which he observes to the point where he is able to put it to use. Historically, that will qualify for science and technology. I leave all that aside, and I come to 1950s, 1960s, that point. Here, in my opinion, a qualitative change takes place in science and technology. Even comparing it with technology at the end of the 19th century, in the more of the middle or so, shall we say the age of the Industrial Revolution, which probably is dated at 1820. Comparing the first 150 years of science and engineering, I don't know if I should use the term technology, but science and engineering, from the end of the 18th century to the first half of the 20th century, say 150 years. What happens thereafter is a qualitatively different thing.